Welcome to week 3 of GE3510 Macroeconomics. Remember that the contact information is up top with the name, email address, and phone number. Best way to contact generally being with the email address given a few times that we can then meet by phone and or screen share software. Scrolling down to the current week we are in, week 3, we see the familiar layout with the objectives, the topics, and the lessons. We will be covering this time 2 chapters, Chapter 3, Chapter 25, one covering a topic that will be critical to economics in general, both macro and micro, that being supply and demand. The other being a macroeconomic topic, that dealing with macroeconomic policy. We touched last time on some problems in the market, and note that when we talk about macroeconomic policy in terms of the market forces, typically the default we rely on in economic terms would be the market forces tending towards a more efficient outcome in most cases. So most economists would basically say, hey, the market forces, that's the default. And then we're going to try to see where the debate is, where the argument is, at least amongst economists, generally will be that there are areas where the economy doesn't function properly. And we talked last time about public goods, that being a specific economic term when used by economists of public goods. And those public goods, because of the characteristics, cause problems. And therefore, there's debate in terms of how to deal with those in terms of policy decisions. The same could be true for externalities. What kind of policies should we put in place? And note, we need to keep a perspective when we make macroeconomic policy, which is different than a business perspective. A business perspective is kind of like a person that is, or a team that's playing a game. If we're talking about a baseball team playing a game, they're playing a game in accordance with the rules that have been put in place. When we talk about macroeconomic policy, we're trying to set the rules so that the behavior of the players in the game will result in optimal outcomes. And so that's going to be the kind of idea, optimal outcomes being something like growth in GDP, having a very low unemployment rate, having inflation be stable. So those are the policies we look at. That's where a lot of debate, of course, is in macroeconomics. So then we have the discussion forums on down. That's what we need to get done. Remember that the discussion forums are worth 21% of the grade. We want to pick up full credit, 100% of that 21%, because we have the most control over these discussion forums. This is really the place where you want to pick the grade up, not pull the grade down. In order to do so, you need at least 4 posts, but 4 posts is the minimum. You want to post more than 4 times in order to pick up full credit, usually, unless you have really good posts. And to get full credit on any particular post, we need to add new content to the discussion, new content related to economics. If we copy and paste anything from a site or anywhere, we do need to reference it so we're not plagiarizing. And to get full credit on it, we would need to critique it and or paraphrase it. Note that the discussion forums are graded a bit differently than anything else in that any post can either gain no points if it doesn't add any new economic material, or it could increase points. Therefore, if we don't have excellent posts, we can still generate more points by having more posts and then get to the full credit in that format. Just remember that we have to add economic content in any post in order to get points on it. Then we've got the assignments, the homeworks, and the quizzes. Remember that everything is due by Sunday. And although most of this work is done in Moodle Rooms, it's not all listed in Moodle Rooms. And although most of it is not done here, although, let me reverse that. Although most of the work is done up here in McGraw-Hill's Connect, it's not all listed in McGraw-Hill's Connect. And although most of it is not done here in Moodle Rooms, it is all listed here. This is your check sheet. Check off all the procedures as you go through them. Don't miss any of the information, including, of course, this homework assignment, which is something that needs to be done here in Moodle Room. So you have to, and that's true with each week. So if you've missed this in any prior weeks, then see if it's possible to go back for late work and pick that up, knowing that you will lose points for late work in accordance with Charter College policy. Then we have the midterm. This is going to be a quiz, like all quizzes. We don't have as much leeway on late work. Don't miss the midterm. Make sure to take the midterm by Sunday. Any points is better than no points. A 5% is better than a 0. And therefore, if you run into a time constraint, take the midterm. Go back to the assignments and homework if you have to at a later time, if you run into a time constraint, because we have more leeway on that for late work, knowing that you will lose points in accordance with charter college policy. Up top, we've got the grade book. Remember that everything is due on Sunday. I have until Wednesday to update all the grades for the prior week. I try to do so around Tuesday, around noon. Therefore, Tuesday around noon, go into that grade book, make sure that you have visualized everything because you've been checking everything off, and that the grade book then corresponds with what you believe it should be. If it doesn't, let me know. If anything changes from a dash to a 0, that's an indication that it has not been done. See if you can pick it up for late work. That's going to be it, so have a great week 3.